From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report. I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what we're working on for you over the next hour. It's a GMO labeling battle that's far from over.
It is not sustainable to have 50 different states and 50 different rules.
Our Farm Journal report breaks down what could be a defining moment for U.S. ag. Despite economic headwinds, the used equipment market seems to be holding strong.
It's been really busy this spring, which surprisingly, we weren't expecting that with the current market prices.
We're on the road with Machinery Pete to North Dakota. And in John's world,
welcome to our library.
U.S. Farm Report, brought to you by the dependable, long-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Now for the market-related news. From torrential rains to now frosts and freezes, this year's crops are already weathering storms, with the impact on conditions still largely unknown. But despite the weather, USDA's latest crop progress report shows planting still moving right along. USDA says 75% of the national corn crop is planted, 5 points ahead of the 5-year average. 43% of the crop has emerged, 9 points ahead. For soybeans, the crop is 36% planted, 4 points ahead of average. 10% has emerged. Farmers we've talked to in several states like Missouri say getting the soybeans planted is a challenge this year, and too much rain is hurting some corn fields.
As you look out here across the field, you can see where we're doing corn on corn, and the erosion control from the hard rains we've had. We had 4.5 inches of rain in one night. There's nothing you can really do about it.
By the way, the crop progress report shows 31% of Missouri soybeans are in the ground. That's twice as much as this time last year. Bayer made a move to take over Monsanto Company this week, an offer that would create the world's largest agricultural supplier. The board of directors is still reviewing that proposal. The unsolicited bid went public Wednesday, but the proposed deal terms were not released. Analysts say an acquisition would likely be valued above the latest ChemChina-Syngenta deal. As we reported last week, Monsanto's stock shot up after rumors of both Bayer and BASF pursuing bids. Also on the ag merger front this week, the Andersons rejecting a hostile $1 billion takeover bid by HC2, which is an investment firm. The Andersons is an independent grain trader based in the U.S. and one of the few independent companies left. This wasn't the first bid by HC2, but the Andersons say the latest one underestimates the value and prospects of a standalone entity. EPA is proposing a boost in renewable fuels levels this year. The agency released the proposed 27 renewable fuels obligations, calling for 18.8 billion gallons versus 18.11 in 2016. That increase is coming from all areas, including cellulosic biofuels, biodiesel, and conventional renewable fuels like corn ethanol. While this is a 700 million gallon increase in a year, it's still well below the renewable fuels statute Congress set in 2007. Calling for 24 billion gallons of renewable fuels by 2017. The proposed rule is open for comments through July 11th. More bad news out of Brazil on crop conditions there. South American grain analyst Michael Cordonnier lowering his soybean estimate to 97 million tons and corn to 76 million. That corn number is close to the worst case scenario he projected back in April. He says the safrinha corn crop is shrinking on a daily basis due to the hot and dry weather in central Brazil. Despite worries about China dropping off its soybean buys, USDA says demand from our biggest soybean purchaser is expected to remain strong. The Economic Research Service thinks buys will increase from 83 million tons this year to 109.5 million a decade from now. The agency says with China's policies continuing to favor domestic grain production over soybeans, they think we'll see an increase. Russian wheat hit a 5-month high this week. That's on a stronger ruble and weaker supply out of the Black Sea region. And demand also remains high. The ruble is up 12% just this year following rebounding crude prices. Our partners at Dairy Herd Management reporting global milk prices tumbling 60% since early 2014. That's largely due to oversupply. But just this week, reports show Australia's milk production is expected to fall this year. That's as processors in the world's 4th largest exporting country decided to slash prices they pay to producers. Lamb exports are now approved for Taiwan. USDA made the announcement this week, marking the first major export news for the lamb industry in years. According to the American sheep industry, Taiwan opens the door for high-quality cuts of American lamb. All right, those are the headlines. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us now with weather. Mike, you thought we could start to warm up later this month. Is that still the case?
Thanks, Tyne. Absolutely. We've already started that warm up in most of the Corn Belt, as you probably already know if you live in that area. Look at the drought monitor. It's getting a little worse here, southern Appalachians, parts of the southeast. But if we go back a month, we were worried about the south central plains and North Dakota. But over the past 4 weeks, we've seen those areas shrink to almost nothing. This area expand a little bit, although you've had some rain recently, so hopefully that will start to shrink as well. And the area in California, Nevada continues to shrink, and it is a whole lot better than it was last year at this time. So let's go day by day. We have a string of storms moving across the country, one off the East Coast, still some rain showers. Mainly in the Northeast, it looks like, as we start the week. High pressure, though, for the eastern third of the country other than the Northeast, and it's pretty nice. Showers and thunderstorms throughout the Plains states, and that next system coming into Washington and Oregon. That system moves into the Plains states. By Wednesday, the first one over the Plains moves into eastern Canada. So we have areas of showers and thunderstorms across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, into the central and southern Plains states, and yet another system coming into the Pacific Northwest, northern Rockies. So by Friday, that system is diving into the western plains with some more showers and thunderstorms, and it looks like a storm system off the northeast, through the northeast, will cause some showers and thunderstorms there as well. So lots of the country getting some moisture this week. That's a look across the country. In our next half hour, we'll take a look at our longer range forecast.
All right, thanks, Mike. Well, Clinton Griffiths is helping me out this week with our marketing discussion. Chip Nellinger and Kevin Dooley join him next.
U.S. Farm Report, brought to you by Case IH. Be ready with Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Row Track tractors from Case IH.
We earn our living from the earth. We trust in our equipment to help us work harder, farm smarter, and add to our bottom line. From prepping, planting, and harvesting, to hauling, leveling, and more, Kubota's ag lineup was built for field and farm. We are Kubota. This is what we do.
Thanks for coming today.
How you doing?
Well, today's gonna be pretty easy. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from, a power saw or a hand saw. So which saw did you use?
Power saw. Power saw.
Power saw. You all chose the most powerful tool. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado. It offers the most powerful engine in its class.
Awesome. I'd say it's the best tool for the job.
Right on.
If you're not using IMI Global's verification programs, you might as well set your money on fire. To give your wieners added value, no program begins without a traceable animal. Then add on BQA and other specialties, and you open up a whole new market for your calves. You might be thinking, the market's so good, why bother? You ever heard of making hay when the sun shines? You got a choice. Get in the game or visit IMIGlobal.com.
Recent medical studies have shown that the use of talcum powder can cause ovarian cancer. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with ovarian cancer after using talcum powder, call right now. You may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer. Call right now to determine if you may qualify. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait.
Call 1-800-842-1969. Again, that's 1-800-842-1969.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. Appreciate Tyne Morgan giving me the keys to the castle here. I've got Chip Nellinger with Blue Reef Agri-Marketing and Kevin Dooling with KD Investors joining us here today. Fellas, let's talk about weather and planning. How about you? You're in Central Illinois. How's it look?
Yeah, most part of Central Illinois is getting finished up. We have a little weather window here with the rain quitting here over the last 2 or 3 days. So planting activities picking up. There wasn't much left to plant. But the real troubled spot seems to be the southern third of Illinois, southern half of Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio. Still lots of planting to go in those areas, and they continue to get rain, even more forecast for this weekend. So they're a little bit slower there, and I think that's the real troubled spot in the Corn Belt this year.
Kevin, you're out there in the Pacific Northwest. Getting a little more rain this year compared to last?
Finally, yeah. It's not... You know, it's not the whole Northwest, a few dry spots, but as a whole, the PNW looks pretty sharp. We're going to finally have a crop. The last 3-4 years we haven't. So I got some much better morale out there, so to speak, in most locations.
Yeah, how does the weather play in, do you think? Out in your neck of the woods, it's wheat, right? That
Right,
is
right.
largely grown. How do you think weather is playing into the wheat crop this year and what we expect here on markets?
Well, as far as wheat and the weather, it looks pretty favorable for everybody. I guess there could be, what I hope does not happen is the plains get deluged again right as they harvest. We don't need another off-quality crop that's tough on markets. So hopefully they do get some brighter days to get their harvest rolling at time when that happens. But the northern plains is kind of a risk area. They've been trending dry for a while. Canada. I guess I've got my eye on that more than anything.
Okay, watching where the connection might be.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Have we switched over to a weather market for corn and soybeans?
Well, I think we're right at the transition of that.
Okay.
Once June kind of comes onto the calendar, then the market's going to be really sensitive to these extended forecasts for any hint of hot, dry weather or a high pressure ridge building up. So, yeah, we're knocking on the door here where every new forecast could potentially affect the market in the case of corn and beans. And like Kevin mentioned, even more rain in the plains would have a potential impact on harvest there for wheat.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we talk about April and May? Pretty exciting time as far as at least the corn and bean markets go. A little bit of rally in wheat there, right, for part of the month?
Yeah, but basically all commodities are, other than maybe KC wheat, everything's kind of trended up. It looks favorable as going ahead. I don't know, as we get into, last week an article from China talking about aborted pigs because of the moldy corn, so that changes the balance sheet a lot. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Exports are rolling and everything. We're seeing higher wheat numbers export-wise than we did last year at all. Corn through the roof, ethanol numbers are good, so it certainly has a different feel than it did last year.
Yeah, sure. And what do you think, Chip, as far as where we stand right now with these markets after what we saw in April and most of May here?
Yeah, well, we've seen a transition here over the last month or so with a lot of investment money coming in, and I think that was on the heels of anticipation that the Federal Reserve was on hold on further rate increases. They may have changed that tune a little bit this week with the minutes of the Federal Reserve meeting saying, no, we still want to raise rates. So we've seen a big influx of fresh fund money into our markets. As Kevin mentioned, the exports are really picking up, especially in the case of corn and beans, and even wheat seeing a nice uptick. So that's good news. I think that's the effect of those low prices that we struggled with all through last fall and winter. So low prices cure low prices. Demand is good, and for the time being, at least for this first half of the year, commodities in general and grains specifically kind of seem to be the darling of the fund world.
Yeah, and you think demand may be there to help us push us along?
Boy, it sure looks like it. Export sales this week in corn were like double what was expected. Just a massive number this week, and they've been good for 6 or 8 weeks now. So I think the demand is there, and that's harder to put your finger on. Sometimes that takes time to sift through the market, but underlying all this, I think maybe the biggest change that we've seen is finally we're seeing some demand, especially on the corn side.
All right. Well, appreciate you both being here. We'll be right back with more from U.S. Farm Report and these two gentlemen right after the break.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by the BV Series Round Baler from Kubota. For Earth, for life.
So we're a moderate-sized family farm here in Sharpsville, Indiana. We do a lot of corn and soybean growing, and we've grown seed for a good little while as well. And that's what exposed us to the Liberty Link beans at the very first. We have some mare's tail that's really challenging to us. It's been a wet season, it's been a challenging season. Timeliness has been really hard to be on, and mare's tail is one of our worst ones. And it easily can be 3, 4, 5 bushels the acre pretty quickly if you can't control your early weeds.
I think weed control early really helps set the stage to have a good bean crop. Last year we had some beans that were in the upper 60s, even had some beans that were in the 70s as well. So we've been very pleased with them the past few years.
Oh, we're very satisfied. I'm glad that we were able to try it. I'm glad that we've been in these 7 or 8 years. That it's a very solid product and it's performed very well for us.
Hi, Tom Parent here for DR Power Equipment. Is your driveway a bumpy road full of potholes, washboard, and ruts? Well, for lots of folks that live in the country, this is a normal ride. But it doesn't have to be this way. Not when you own a DR Power Grader, now available at a new low price. Tow the power grader behind your riding mower, utility tractor, or ATV. With each pass, the power grader loosens, redistributes, and levels surface materials. Potholes and ruts are filled in, washboard is smoothed out, and your resurfaced driveway is ready to roll.
Call 1-800-708-5320 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. You'll learn how you can own a DR Power Grader for as little as $799.99. Free shipping is now in effect, and with our 6-month at-home trial, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-708-5320. Online at drpowergrader.com.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri Marketing, Kevin Dooling, Katie Investors, our guests here today. Let's talk about kind of the bigger picture, the global situation. I think when the last USDA report came out, kind of caught some people by surprise where our stocks were, and then relative to some of the challenges that these other countries are facing. And Chip, we'll start with you. Down in South America, that seems to be one of the big drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's such a huge part of both corn and bean production worldwide anymore. So we've had some wet weather in Argentina, paring their crop back and slowing harvest down there. Had some dry weather for their second crop corn, and I think that's still kind of uncertain where that final corn size for their second crop will sift out. And so that's still, I think, a wild card in the market is where do those final corn and bean production numbers in South America come out? There's still probably, in my opinion, some room to bring those down.
Yeah, and they keep trending lower. We keep hearing reports of them bringing them down.
Yeah, finally in this last report, the USDA, for the first time in seems like 6 months, brought the Brazilian bean crop down. So, you know, they've gone through some pretty big extremes in their weather down there. So there may be more of a wild card scenario there if production continues to drop.
Okay, and Kevin, when we start talking weather, I mean, you can look over at India and some of the challenges that they're facing, and you know some of the things that China is facing with their own economy as drivers for not just corn and beans, but also wheat markets.
Yeah, it's a tough season, and what I mean is, as Chip mentioned earlier about the Fed, are they going to raise rates? Are they not? You know, we're in a big game of poker, but essentially with the U.S. government, the Chinese, and the Indians. And as far as India goes, I mean, they announced they have a 94 million metric ton wheat crop. Sources on the ground say not even close. They have 80. USDA put them at 88. But you know, the proof's in the bushels. I mean, they're buying wheat. They've been buying. You know, they've bought a couple 100,000 Australian. They've bought some French, and you know, we expect them to buy 5 to 15 million metric tons. So I guess in poker terms, you know, I would call on that one to maybe re-raise. But, you know, in China with the corn stocks, those are a big mystery. I don't think the quality's there. And
yeah, we talked about the challenges with the moldy corn that they may be having with their livestock, sure.
Right, and then on the U.S. Ledger, this last WASDA report put wheat demand, world wheat demand at, you know, barely over 0.5% growth for the 4th straight year. That's never happened in history. It's always averaged about 2%. And now they've got it at less than less than 1. And
yeah, do you buy that?
Well, no, I don't. I don't think if you just look at the chart from the last 40 years, I mean, we've flatlined, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And we've seen exports respond lately. So.
Sure. So you think maybe there could be something hanging out there at this wheat market that's really going to pull on it?
Well, I think longer term, it's going to do a lot better than people think.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about where we go through the rest of this summer. Let's talk June, July. Chip, start with you. What are you watching for as far as indicators for our markets in the months ahead?
Yeah. Well, I think there's several things. Obviously, first and foremost, going to be weather and how our growing season progresses as it gets hot and dry. But as Kevin mentioned, we kind of talked about earlier, there's also a lot of world issues at play too that could affect our markets and really have nothing to do with the potential crop size we're raising. So that's a little bit of a shift. So obviously weather's one. I think an important part of this thing is going to be where does that South American, both the Brazilian and Argentina crop sizes on corn and beans, what's the final numbers there? Because it's still up in the air, and that could really be a big effect.
Where do they land? Kevin, what about you? What are you watching over the next couple of months?
Going to have both eyes on the currency war. I mean, we've been doing this for years, and there's a lot of job loading. And like the Fed with their stuff, and we saw such a demand response you know, I know as producers we're used to focusing on supply and we assume there has to be a major hiccup for prices to rise. But if all the buyers are willing to buy $3.60, $3.80 corn and $9, $10 beans, perhaps, you know, we don't belong below those numbers. So,
okay,
regardless of supply.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it. We're going to get your final thoughts with Markets Now when we come right back. More U.S. Farm Report after the break.
Get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. Visit lovelandproducts.com/radiate. See your CPS dealer today.
Are you living with slow internet at home? Or maybe no internet at all? Then you need HughesNet Gen 4, high-speed satellite internet. Whether you live out of town or way out of town, HughesNet is available wherever you call home. So you can live where you love and enjoy a great internet connection too. HughesNet features smart technologies to make your online experience better than ever. So go ahead, shop for deals. Learn new things. Share little moments. And stay in touch. Connect to what matters most with HughesNet.
Right now is the perfect time to finally get high-speed internet where you live. HughesNet, America's #1 choice for satellite internet. Call now. For a limited time, standard installation is free. For special offers only in your area, text FAST to 99000.
Imagine a lawn vacuum powerful enough to clear the largest lawns, clean as a carpet, and compact enough to hang right on the wall. Hitching a Cyclone rake to your riding mower gives you 10 times the lifting power and many times the debris capacity of mowers alone. It cuts overgrown summer lawns down to size in a fraction of the time. When autumn comes, clear the heaviest leaf cover with sitting down ease. Try the Cyclone Rake risk-free for a full year. To learn more, visit CycloneRake.com for your free information kit.
Hey there folks, I'm Dr. Dan from Doc Talk. On behalf of myself and the staff at Drovers, I'd like to invite you to our Cow-Calf Cowboy College in West Des Moines, Iowa on June 20th and 21st. We're going to have speakers such as Mike Apley, Tom Knopfsinger, Chris Reinhardt, and Mr. Dave Nichols from Nichols Angus Farm. For registration, please visit droverscowboycollege.com or call us at 1-877-482-7203. I hope to see you all there.
Time for Markets Now. We'll begin with Kevin Dooling. Kevin.
Soybeans, great run. I think we have to take some of that. I think it's, you know, on the technical side, it's completed what it should or just about. So we're within the top 20-25% of that. So I think a guy needs to take some of that and then probably shut the bin till, you know, late summer and see what happens. Wheat, hedge fund short, massive. I can't recommend sales or anything. If you're going to be long wheat, now's the time. Corn, with that, I would just watch a little bit.
All right, Chip, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I always kind of preach have a plan, and we're going to have a lot of volatility. I think the bean market's already proven that. It doesn't always have to be about what's going on in our backyard or in the Midwest and across the I-State. So have a plan, know what you're going to do when that volatility hits. That means know your cost of production. And you know, make some smart risk management decisions, have offers working above the market at profitable levels, and kind of have a plan on this thing.
All right, appreciate you both being here. Tyne Morgan will return right after the break.
Receive a free trial of the Daily Market Letter and gain knowledge about current market conditions from the professionals at Bauer Trading. View the markets like never before. Go to BauerTrading.com.
Sure, cattle bring in the profits, but Case IH equipment helps you do everything else.
Every successful grower knows that the best crops need strong roots, and that means they need Radiate Plant Growth Regulator. Radiate features 2 powerful active ingredients that help young crops quickly develop the longer, healthier roots they need for more nutrient uptake, early vigor, and stress resistance. Applied either foliar or in furrow, Radiate makes all the difference for a wide variety of crops. So get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. See your CPS dealer today.
Sure, cattle bring in the profits, but Case IH equipment helps you do everything else.
We know who made that hitch. We know who cut the steel, who milled the ball, and who welded the seams. We know who tested, measured, and checked. We even know who thought the whole thing up. We're B&W, and we know your hitch. Because we don't make them halfway around the world. We make them all right here. B&W. Trusted.
Hi, I'm Joan London. When I needed to find senior care for my mom, I really struggled to find the right fit. That's why I recommend A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. They have advisors that can help you find the right senior care at no cost to you. There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. 800-243-0190.
Well, John this week gives us a glimpse inside a room in his home that I imagine gets a lot of use.
This room was originally labeled the den on the house plans we used back in 1979. Like many young homeowners on a budget, it was 10 years before we got around to actually finishing it, and by then, den was so 1950s. So we opted for the more upscale and accurate library. I finished it with old barn wood from a barn we'd just torn down, and it rapidly became a favorite space in our home. It has wonderful morning sun here on the east, and the relatively dark walls and soft surfaces make it both restful and quiet. But as much as we love this small haven, Jan and I have realized the label library may soon be as dated as den was. The reason is simple. We don't buy or read books anymore. We both use e-readers or Kindles. Our transition to electronic books was incredibly fast and complete. While many people insist they just wouldn't be satisfied without the feel of paper and ink in their hands, I think they're fooling themselves. Not only do the storage and moving problems disappear, but our consumption of reading material has skyrocketed. Since 2009, I've added over 400 books to my electronic library. Admittedly, a fair portion of these are dubious quality science fiction, but I have waded through some considerable economic, historical, and scientific literature as well. Much of this change is due to somewhat cheaper prices, some due to the instant gratification of 15-second delivery after a spur-of-the-moment decision, some of it the convenience of reading anything, anywhere on a pad, Kindle, or phone, some of it never losing your place in your book, and a little bit due to the ability to mark and relocate passages for future reference easily. But the biggest reason is what's right behind me. We no longer really need a place to warehouse all the words. But there is a considerable downside. How are we going to silently impress visitors with our intellectual habits without shelves of serious literature? Just like our treasured album collections from our youth, the decline of books leaves us with one fewer way to signal our taste and intelligence. So maybe years from now, new occupants will enter this room and say, you know, we really should turn this into a den.
Thanks, John. When we come back, the GMO labeling debate is far from over, but it's putting some food companies in the crosshairs with one another. That's our Farm Journal report after the break.
U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast. From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. We have much more to cover over the next half hour. The GMO labeling debate is far from over. Our Farm Journal report looks at how labeling laws are dividing the food industry. We're on the road with Machinery Pete to North Dakota, where used combine values are surprisingly strong to start the year. And in customer support, John gives his thoughts on the future of townships. Now for the headlines. A new comprehensive study out of the National Academies of Sciences supports claims that genetically engineered crops are just as safe for both the environment and people as its conventionally bred counterparts. Now here are some highlights of the 408-page report, which is largely favorable to GMOs. The study concludes GE foods are as safe to eat as conventional foods and that the crops don't cause any environmental problems. It also found GE crops provide flexibility but no yield increase. The study did support mandatory labeling, saying it would give buyers the chance to make their own personal risk-benefit decisions. Well, 6 weeks before Vermont's first in the country GMO labeling law goes into effect, the issue is having far-reaching effects, including in the sugar industry. On Tuesday, USDA made a change to the country's sugar import policy. It now allows for more imports of cane sugar. USDA says the uncertainty is due in part to the lack of national labeling standards on GMO food products, with companies like Hershey's switching to GMO-free cane. Meanwhile, the U.S. sugar complex will now get new competition next year. Starting in October 2017, European sugar production quotas and export limits will be dropped. European sugar groups will be allowed to produce and ship as much sugar as they want, derived from non-GMO sugar beets. As Oregon farmers struggle with GMO bans in 2 counties, GMO opponents hit a wall in one county court this week. A judge striking down a prohibition against GMO crops in Oregon's Josephine County. Now, according to Capitol Press, the judge ruled the ordinance is preempted by state law. And even though proponents of the GMO ban claimed the state preemption was unconstitutional, a county circuit court judge rejected that argument this week. The battle started in 2014 when voters approved a measure to ban growing GMO crops in the county. A group of Nebraska farmers and an agronomist with cancer are suing Monsanto, saying the company is to blame. The 3 farmers and agronomists filed a lawsuit against the company, alleging the seed and chemical maker misled the public about the dangers of glyphosate. The lawsuit also claims the Monsanto concealed or systematically sought to discredit research showing a link between the chemical and cancer. In response, Monsanto says, quote, "While we have sympathy for the plaintiffs, the science simply does not support their claims when it comes to glyphosate," end quote. Monsanto cites numerous long-term studies by EPA and other pesticide regulators for their claim. All right, that's it for the news. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us now with the national forecast. Mike, we've had some pretty active weather patterns, especially in the Gulf. So is this caused by the switch away from El Nino?
Thanks, Tyne. Well, it's hard to place the blame on any one item. We are switching from an El Nino to a La Nina, and that's probably one of the factors. But the other factor is we continue to have these cutoff lows that develop, and we're not totally out of that pattern yet. Although it's hitting different parts of the country. The East Coast may have a cutoff as we start this week on the jet stream, as you can see there. Trough out west will bring some moisture eastward. Each one of these little ripples bring a system eastward as well as we head through this week. By the time we get through the end of the week, we may get a cutoff into the middle of the country, and that may linger into our holiday weekend for the Great Lakes. We'll have to watch that one as yet another cutoff comes into the Pacific Northwest. So my 30-day outlook for temperatures above normal from the Ohio River Valley through the Northeast. Most of the Canadian sections, western areas anyway, northwestern United States below normal, then central plains southward. Precipitation over the next 30 days, the Rockies and the southeast, southern plains above normal. Northern Great Lakes into the eastern Canada below normal. Tyne.
Thanks so much, Mike. Well, as we told you earlier in the show, Vermont's GMO labeling law is already impacting industries such as sugar. But the clock is ticking on the Senate to negotiate a biotech labeling bill that can gain bipartisan support before Vermont's mandate goes into effect on July 1st. In this Farm Journal report, Michelle Rook shows us how the debate is splitting the food industry and could be a defining moment for U.S. ag.
The biotech labeling debate has divided the food industry and the Senate. One side has called for a mandatory national approach.
It is not sustainable to have 50 different states and 50 different rules. If we preempt states, you have to have a national standard. There has to be a national requirement.
On the other side, more than 800 groups have backed voluntary labeling, citing recent hearings confirming the safety of agriculture biotechnology.
The FDA and the USDA and the EPA said that our food was safe in no uncertain terms and that GMO was safe.
The food industry is equally divided. Mike Gruber with the Grocery Manufacturers Association says they support a voluntary program.
We are opposed to a mandatory on-package label that we feel would stigmatize the technology.
As a result, they've developed an online alternative, the Smart Label, in which consumers scan a QR code.
So we can provide hundreds of different attributes or pieces of information about that particular product, GMO being one of them.
He says mandatory labeling is costly to food companies and consumers. On the other side of the debate is the Environmental Working Group, and Scott Faber says they're part of the Just Label It coalition.
We would strongly prefer a national mandatory GMO labeling solution that works for consumers but also works for industry.
He says this isn't a debate about the technology, but instead the consumer's right to know.
We're not advocating for the elimination of the technology. We're not trying to restrict the choices that farmers get to make. We just want to give consumers more choices as well.
Regardless of whether Congress ends up with a mandatory or a voluntary biotech labeling system, Campbell's Soup is one company that's already decided to go ahead with biotech labeling. Steve Armstrong with Campbell's Soup says they're labeling and support a national mandate, but not because they question the safety of the technology.
There's a simple reason we did this, and that's transparency. Because fundamentally we believe that consumers have a right to know what's in their food.
He says the label won't include meat or milk from livestock fed biotech feed and is based on consumer research they conducted.
To determine the best GMO label, the one that doesn't frighten consumers but inform them.
He says they're also preparing a label to comply with Vermont's labeling law set to go into effect July 1st. I'm Michelle Rourke reporting for U.S. Farm Report.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Companies are already choosing to either redo their label or reformulate the raw ingredients in their products and source non-biotech products so they're not held liable in the state of Vermont. Well, up next, John Phipps.
We're all aware of catastrophic storms that can knock out power to millions. Powerful storms and high winds that bring down power lines. Even rolling blackouts caused by our nation's faltering electrical grid.
So how can you protect your home and family from all these uncertainties?
The answer is a home standby generator from Generac. It stands guard, ready to automatically supply power to your home within seconds of a power outage. For a free buyer's guide and DVD all about Generac home backup power, call 1-800-731-0399. You'll learn all about automatic home generators starting at just $18.99. Online at freegeneratorguide.com.
It's one of the best investments I've ever made in this house.
It gives you security, it's reliable.
That gives you that feeling of security that to me, it's priceless.
Call now for a limited time bonus offer worth $495. That's 1-800-731-0399.
Once you cut a tree down, what do you do about the stump? Grind it down with a DR Stump Grinder, the fast, easy, and affordable solution for stump removal. Thanks to the power of a world-class engine and carbide-tipped cutting teeth, the DR Stump Grinder tackles any size stump. With each pass, these teeth quickly shave the stump down, taking a remarkable 360 bites per second. In no time, the stump is completely gone. All that's left behind is a pile of wood chips. Get behind the power of a DR Stump Grinder to rid your property of tree stumps forever.
Call 1-800-515-4765 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. Learn how you can try a DR Stump Grinder for 6 months. With our special financing plan, you can own a DR for as low as $42 a month. Plus, get free shipping if you call now. 1-800-515-4765. Online at drstumpgrinder.com.
Welcome back. Well, John answers a viewer's question in this week's customer support. John?
Your call is very important to us. Please hold.
Loyal viewer Marty Wittig asks an unusual question. What is your opinion on townships? Well, Marty, I suppose I don't care would summarize it best, but living in Illinois, a state with more governmental entities than just about all others, I have actually thought from time to time about this. First, a little background. We're talking here about civil townships, not survey townships that are part of the legal descriptions for parcels of land. To my surprise, only 20 states have such government jurisdictions below the county level. In some states like Wisconsin, they are labeled towns, and not all states with townships have government bodies at that level. Townships, on average, encompass about 36 square miles, about 6 by 6. Townships are a holdover from our earlier days when there were enough people in rural areas to make government services like roads and schools necessary, and local control was both wanted and needed. Here in Illinois, each township can have a board of commissioners, a supervisor, a clerk, and a road commissioner, all of which are paid for with property taxes. But the population in townships like mine has plummeted since their founding. Townships used to be able to support a school, a post office, and in the Midwest, usually a Methodist church. At one time, I think there were more Methodist churches in Illinois than post offices. Townships allowed control of local issues like roads, but now strike me as expensive holdovers that don't fit with modern demographics or economic reality. The problem is the enormous number of township officials constitute a political force to be reckoned with. Efforts to eliminate this layer of bureaucracy, even when residents are unsatisfied with costs and services, usually go nowhere. It's even getting to the point that finding people to fill the jobs is a challenge. Townships are probably a redundant layer of government where they still exist. But as problems go, at least here in Illinois, they are far from our biggest government headache.
Thanks so much, John. You can send your questions or comments to him at mailbag@usfarmreport.com. Up next, we're on the road to Lemoore, North Dakota to talk about the surprises in equipment values despite the economic headwinds farmers face. So don't go anywhere because that's after the break.
You've committed to doing all you can to increase your yields and grow your bottom line. Like using Stratego Yield fungicide and its 2 modes of action for unbeatable control of the major foliar soybean diseases. You'll get an average yield increase of 3 to 4 bushels per acre. Healthier fields means higher yields. You're ready to profit from the season with Stratego Yield.
Tommy, I'm a little disappointed. The yields weren't there and the prices are low. We need to sell at a good price. What do you advise?
Hi, it's Tommy Grisafi, and I would like to visit you at your farm to discuss strategies and risk management solutions that best fit your farm's interest. Call me at 855-737-FARM, and I will personally visit you at your farm. Experience solid market advice right on the farm.
Introducing the all-new DR Leaf and Lawn Vacuum, now at our lowest price ever. The DR cleans up acres of leaves and grass while you mow. In the spring, collect dead grass, wet leaves, and twigs from storm damage. Come summer, the DR makes a great high-capacity bagger, and in the fall, turn days of raking into a drive in the park. When it's time to unload, nothing could be easier. Look, just one hand. Plus, with the collector top removed, you've got a rugged utility cart that's great for all kinds of hauling chores. The DR is the most powerful, most versatile lawn machine you can buy.
Call 1-800-460-3185 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. Learn how you can own a DR for as low as $37 a month and get a 6-month product trial. Free shipping is now in effect, so call 1-800-460-3185. Online at drleafvac.com.
On the Road with Machinery Pete is brought to you by John Deere. Nothing runs like a Deere.
We're continuing our On the Road with Machinery Pete series this week, and this month our destination is North Dakota. Green Iron Equipment covers much of North Dakota with 6 different dealerships, and in 2016 they say surprising demand is helping them find a balance with inventory on their lots.
It's mainly small grains, corn and soybeans.
Farming in North Dakota looks much different than it did a decade ago.
Some of the newer genetics with corn and soybeans have really allowed them to flourish up here in North Dakota.
From the large chunks of ground one farmer covers,
anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 it seems like it's pretty common up here.
To the gambling game with Mother Nature.
The weather can change on a dime.
Farming in North Dakota presents challenges each year, so when farmers get the green light to go, all systems must be ready.
It's critical that when it's time to go, they are able to run nonstop, and they have the people to do it. We need the machinery to be on spot. Everything has to work like it's supposed to.
That's one reason Barnick decided to upgrade to a larger planter last year. With 32 rows, he's able to cover more ground quicker.
We sure like the way that it works with seed placement. I'm saving money on my soybean seed versus an air drill.
For the local equipment dealer, they are seeing more interest in farmers trying to upgrade their fleet with used equipment.
There's been some land being swapped around. Some folks are picking up maybe a little bit more land, so they're looking for an extra row crop tractor, maybe another used planter to cover more acres.
Michael Sandness farms 8 miles north of the dealership, and even as a young farmer, his theory is to find the opportunities to be more efficient rather than cutting back.
I think the more important part is having the knowledge of your ground, your soil health, soil science is something I've really been interested in, and getting into variable rate farming.
Whether it's add-ons or finding something new,
I think you got to find machinery that's going to help you do a better job in every acre.
He says the technology is helping him cut back on unnecessary spending in order to save in the long run.
I have everything on my iPad, my whole farm pretty much, and I'm constantly utilizing those tools to be more efficient with my ground and my money.
I think there's a lot of investments going to be made on the technology piece as customers work on getting more efficient.
Green Iron has already seen that investment start to blossom, but the biggest surprise has been how steady equipment values are holding.
It's been really busy this spring, which surprisingly we weren't expecting that with the current market prices.
I think just generally used values, they're just higher than people thought.
The area of interest is another surprise with the larger equipment moving off the lots.
It seems like the older model, high horsepower four-wheel drives, we've got a lot of great deals on loader tractors. Again, maybe some later models. Seems like those are what's popular right now.
I think for a good late model, low-houred, or something that's been taken care of, that is still bringing a good price in the market.
Machinery Pete says he's seen this all across the board, but what's catching his eye this year is the used combine market.
Yeah, that might be the most surprising thing, is that the used values are just up.
Years have passed, we've had a glut of used combines in the market, and I think that also negatively impacted the pricing for a couple of years.
Machinery Pete says 2 years ago, combine values fell 25% in some cases.
Supply and demand is simple, it's brutal, but it affects values, absolutely.
And if you're in the market to buy, as the calendar flips to spring, now could be the time.
You know, late spring through the summer, historically time has been the best time of year to be a buyer before harvest. And I think, again, there's still inventory out there. There's going to be a lot of sales. There's still inventory on dealer lots. It's an opportunity to get great value for that 1 to 5 year old piece of used equipment now.
But the inventory on lots is quickly changing.
We have dramatically reduced the inventory on our lots.
Here at Green Iron Equipment, the dealers were telling us they are moving a lot of inventory recently. Are you seeing that all across the board this year?
I am. It's everywhere I go, Tyne. We're talking to dealers, and a lot of them have done a lot of hard work getting that stuff off the books.
These good buys aren't permanent, and Machinery Pete says the gift of higher soybean prices could edge equipment values higher.
When I've seen the markets go up over the years, it's almost like a spigot that gets turned on immediately, and used values go up and new sales go up.
Despite a surprise rally this spring, the credit crunch across rural America is still in full effect.
We're seeing an increase in financing. A lot of folks are interested in low interest rates.
And while farmers are keeping an eye out for deals in buying equipment, they're keeping a closer eye on the volatility of today's markets.
Be ready for it, watching the markets, and just do everything we can and let the markets give us the opportunity.
But it's conquering those challenges that makes the game of farming even more rewarding.
I guess if farming was easy, it wouldn't be farming.
Next month, we'll be in Indiana talking equipment values there. Well, don't go anywhere because Machinery Pete joins us again this week for Tractor Tales. That happens right after the break.
Are you living with slow internet at home? Or maybe no internet at all? Then you need HughesNet Gen 4, high-speed satellite internet. Whether you live out of town or way out of town, HughesNet is available wherever you call home. So you can live where you love and enjoy a great internet connection too. HughesNet features smart technologies to make your online experience better than ever. So go ahead, shop for deals. learn new things, share little moments, and stay in touch. Connect to what matters most with HughesNet.
Right now is the perfect time to finally get high-speed internet where you live. HughesNet, America's #1 choice for satellite internet. Call now. For a limited time, standard installation is free. For special offers only in your area, text FAST to 99000.
Imagine a lawn vacuum powerful enough to clear the largest lawns, clean as a carpet, and compact enough to hang right on the wall. Hitching a cyclone rake to your riding mower gives you 10 times the lifting power and many times the debris capacity of mowers alone. It cuts overgrown summer lawns down to size in a fraction of the time. When autumn comes, clear the heaviest leaf cover with sitting down ease. Try the Cyclone Rake risk-free for a full year. To learn more, visit CycloneRake.com for your free information kit.
New in 2016, the Tomorrow's Top Producer Conference will span 2 days and be held in Nashville, Tennessee. Join us June 16th and 17th with speakers on topics including marketing, risk management, negotiation tips, and succession planning. This event will help young farmers master the skills needed to be successful in today's farming landscape. Speakers include Walt Coleman, NFL referee and Highland Dairy Controller, Mo Russell, Russell Consulting, Brent Olkey, Innovis Agra, and more. Visit tomorrowstopproducer.com for the full agenda and registration information.
Time now for Tractor Tales with Machinery Pete, the most trusted name in farm equipment.
We're looking at an Alice Chalmers D15. My dad's sister bought that brand new. My dad got it willed to him when she passed away, and I'm next generation to get it. We used it to move trailers around the farm, and we used it to bush hog our woods, behind our woods, and part of our field. I have a few trailers here. We move around. We pull my dump trailer back to the woods, cut wood. We use it to bush hog. I use it for anything I need to move stuff around with. I got a hitch on it. I also use it to plow my snow in the winter. It's an aftermarket cab that you could buy through the Alice Chalmers dealership. Mechanically, everything works. Haven't had a problem with it. The tires are still the original tires that came on it when they bought it. I haven't touched anything on it. We haven't even washed it. You know, it's a big enough tractor you can run a baler, but it's a small enough tractor that you can maneuver around on the farm. We do want to restore it, but then I've talked about if I want to restore it, then I don't want to. I'm a person I don't want to use it. So we're talking that I think we're just going to kind of keep it the way it is. Just kind of clean it up, maybe paint it up, and that's about it. My Ford is my favorite. But this one I loved it. This one because it's got a lot more power than my Ford does. You know, when I was 10 years old, I used to ride with this. That was considered my Aunt Omi's tractor, and nobody else's. She was the only one that drove it. It's going to get, passed down to one of my kids.
Thanks so much, Greg and Glenn. Well, this week's Country Church Salute goes to the First Christian Church Disciples of Christ. The congregation is located in Macon, Missouri, and coming up on June 12th, the church will have a homecoming Sunday with an outdoor worship to celebrate 150 years. Our thanks to Becky Belt for sharing their story. And as always, we want to hear about your home church. You can send those tributes via mail or email. Stay with us. We have viewer photos coming up next with Mike Hoffman.
Find your next piece of farm equipment with Machinery Pete. Visit and shop on machinerypete.com today with more than 100,000 listings for sale.
One look tells you right away, this is performance that pays. Now take a closer look and ask yourself, is it new or is it John Deere used? With impressive fuel economy, comfort, convenience, and overall performance, it's really a close call. Our late model used equipment is time-tested, field-proven, and backed by the most trusted name in farm equipment. For even more peace of mind, our certified pre-owned machines deliver. New or new to you, nothing runs like a Deere. Visit Machine Finder or see your dealer today.
Thanks for coming today.
How you doing?
Well, today's going to be pretty easy. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from, a power saw or a hand saw. So which saw did you use?
Power saw.
Power saw. Power saw. You all chose the most powerful tool. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado. It offers the most powerful engine in its class.
Awesome.
I'd say it's the best tool for the job.
Right on.
The new DR trimmer mowers are here, and they're better than ever. The walk-behind DRs feature world-class engines and easy rolling wheels that let you trim along buildings, decks, and fence lines, mow tall grass and waist-high weeds without tangling, even cut brush up to 3 inches thick with optional cutting attachments. And now there's a full line of tow-behind DR trimmer mowers. Choose from models customized for riding mowers, ATVs, or compact tractors. So turn to DR and get the job done right.
Call 1-800-418-1409 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. We'll include details of our special 36-month financing plan that lets you own a DR for as low as $25 a month. Free shipping is now in effect, so call 1-800-418-1409. Online at drtrimmer.com.
DR is professional power done right.
Welcome back. Well, we do have some viewer photos, but not a lot of planting progress. Mike, the Gulf Coast got hammered with more rain this week, and it's definitely too much of a good thing. Garrett Miller snapped this picture just north of Corpus Christi this week before the storms. He says that damage has been minimal thus far, but this week's rains definitely had an impact. And as you can see, before the storms, water was just standing in those cornfields.
Yeah, I'd hate to see them after the storms now. In Hillsdale, Michigan, a different type of planting is going on. As you can see here, Alex Oganowski is planting pine trees for deer cover. They use a 7-foot spacing and plant 7 trees per minute, which equates to almost 350 trees per hour. Could they come to my yard, please? In total, they planted 2,000 trees on 10 acres this week. By the way, Alex is only 9. Pretty impressive.
That is impressive. And John Scott of Hayfield, Minnesota posted a picture of their corn crop this week. Temps dipped to 26 this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. And the aftermath, Mike? Brown, lifeless corn in the field.
Boy, you hate to see that.
This weather's just been brutal, but you think next week possibly the skies could open up and maybe we could get a big window to plant?
It looks like we're in that window right now across most of the Corn Belt. Obviously not Texas and the Gulf Coast, but most of the Corn Belt looking good for the first part of this week still.
All right, and next weekend, already Memorial Day, crazy. We're going to record our entire show from the Indianapolis 500 Speedway.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you'll want to tune in for that. Well, we want to hear from you. You can send your comments to us via email or Facebook and Twitter. For all of us at U.S. Farm Report, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to join us again right here next week as we work to build on our tradition from the Speedway. Have a great weekend, everyone.
High-strength steel for high-strength dependability. Chevy Silverado, the official news gathering vehicle of U.S. Farm Report. U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast.